Guys who didn't serve their country, never served a day where they actually fought in a war.
And you don't have to fight in a war, Howard.
But just join.
You need the military even in times of peace.
Right.
You know, like they always give the excuse, well, the Vietnam War had ended. I was too young. And like I said, excuse me, you turned 18, didn't you?
You could still serve.
You could still serve.
Right.
Who knows when the next war is going to be?
That's what my grandfather always said. It was a World War II veteran.
Yeah.
And captured in the Battle of the Bulge and everything. He always said every kid should go in the military. It's just good for kids.
Well, if you're going to be Dick Cheney, if you're going to be Dick Cheney and be so into war,
and so into torture and so into everything else.
Right, right.
It's the chicken hawk argument.
Well, yeah, and do you know what these guys are? I'll give you another one, what they are. And we all know these people. They're the guys that'll start a fight and then hold your coat.
Right,
right.
You know, they're the big mouths we all know people like that. They'll get you into a fight situation, and then as soon as the fight's going to break out, here, let me hold your coat.
I'm thinking of a guy.
Go fight the guy.
I was with a guy once, and I guess I was doing some public appearance, so they assigned 2 big bodyguards to me. And a buddy of mine is in L.A. with me, and we're walking around, and all of a sudden, he starts in with another guy. And I knew this guy was going to fight. He knew he had the 2 bodyguards.
Right, that's why he's got the big
2
mouth.
bodyguards jumping. They're fighting, and he's sitting there on the sidelines, watching the whole goddamn thing go down.
That's
the thing with Cheney. He's never done he's never had to face an enemy.
No.
He's never had to be the person who tortured somebody.
Right.
He's never done any of this stuff, but
it's
he
all
doesn't
theoretical.
mind telling everybody else to do it.
The worst thing is a broad who gets you into fights. You ever date a chick who's like...
The last time you were here... girls can get you into fights.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last time you were here, you said some pretty mind-blowing things. And it was a great story.
I did?
Well, yes, you always do. And by the way, we're here to celebrate. Don't Start the Revolution Without Me is now available in paperback. That's your 2nd book, right?
3rd.
Is it your 3rd? And are you working on a 4th?
Yes.
You never run out of stuff to write about.
Well, I write about things that interest me.
What's the 4th one going to be?
It's going to be on conspiracies.
Oh, well, you're a big 9/11 guy, and the whole thing.
Well, I question my government on 9/11, because as you get in, for most lay people out there, they accept what they hear on TV, they accept the government's explanation, but once you start getting in and studying what actually happened that day, there's a lot of problems.
Bottom line, what are you saying?
I believe if our government didn't actually participate in it, that they certainly knew it was going to happen and allowed it to happen.
That is mind-blowing. Wow. And you're going to write a book backing that up.
Yeah.
Now, what would be the purpose of allowing it to happen?
Well, we're in 2 wars, aren't we? That we would have never been in. And that Halliburton. And how much money is Halliburton made in the war? How much money is Blackwater made in the war? People fail to realize that there are war profiteers out there.
So you're saying that you're talking about treason. You're talking about who are you accusing of treason in your next book?
About mass murder.
I'm just simply writing about the questions I have about it.
Is this why you call the Bush administration the worst administration ever?
Yeah.
Have you ever received any kind of death threats yourself for these theories and going on about this stuff? Because you're taken pretty seriously. You were the governor.
I haven't received any death threats over 9/11 and my viewpoints on questioning it. But when I was in office, I received 1 a week.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
And what precautions did you take when you would receive these death threats?
I took none, but my security forces, who are the state troopers of the state of Minnesota, they take many. They take every death threat. Totally, 99% of them, Howard, are all bullshit.
Right.
But the minute you decide that this one isn't, that'll be the real one.
And you still have a security detail because you're an ex-governor?
Nope. The day that I left office, I lost it all. You're naked.
You could have had a security... No? That's it. It's over.
That's it.
Next day, boom.
Next day.
Not even in Minnesota. If you're in Minnesota, you don't get it.
No.
Is that a tough adjustment for you? And talk about the psychological adjustment of going from being this powerful guy, every word is really taken seriously, suddenly, bam, you're stripped of it. That's why maybe Coleman
back on the street.
Well, I was lucky because I then was invited for a year to go teach at Harvard.
Right.
Which, and then I went on my adventure to Mexico.
Right.
Because I thought
Which you love. You love Mexico.
I love it. I live, Howard, an hour from pavement and an hour from electricity.
An hour? You don't have electricity?
Not where I live. Down there.
Come on, stop.
I have electricity. I'm completely solar.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I thought he had a bike and he was just...
No. I get all my electricity.
I thought you had a windmill.
No, I'm sold. It's Baja. You don't need a windmill. You need the sun.
How do you watch The Real Housewives of New Jersey?
I don't.
You don't have a question.
Hey, now. Hey, listen, man, you're a great guest. You sound honest and real intelligent, but when you start saying that 9/11 stuff, I'm like, Jesus, that sounds nuts. What's your biggest piece of evidence?
Well, my biggest piece of evidence is that how could those buildings fall to the ground at the rate that I free fall from a plane?
Now, you've told me this before.
Now think about this. That? Well, they fell at the rate of gravity with no resistance. If you take basic physics, they told us the buildings collapsed, one floor on top of the other floor, and down they went.
They pancaked. That's what they did. Right.
Well, when a moving object hits one that's not moving, they both slow down. Right. These buildings did not slow down.
You're saying the
And how do you explain Building 7? This building was never hit by a plane. At 5:20 in the afternoon, it collapsed in 7 seconds.
Forget Building 7.
No, I'm not forgetting Building 7.
You can't forget it.
How do you forget it?
Ralph, why would he forget Building 7?
Why would you forget it?
All right, so
wait, and I've got tape of the BBC of a woman broadcasting back to England at 4:50 in the afternoon, and she's describing the collapse of the third tower, the third building, Building 7, all while the building is right over her shoulder. It hasn't collapsed for another 25 minutes.
Oh.
And yet she's reporting back to the BBC the collapse of this third building. How did they know that building was going to collapse 25 minutes before it did?
All right, I got one.
You're saying she did it?
I got one.
The BBC did it.
You're saying time traveling? Listen, Ralph.
Hey, I got one question.
The governor's writing a book about it, yes.
This has to be a widespread conspiracy, right? There's got to be a lot of people involved with this.
Not necessarily. It's very... I had a friend that was involved. It was on... Wait a minute. Who was involved on SEAL Team 6, the Arms for Hostages stuff back in the 80s. He had no idea he was even involved in it until the story broke on TV, because it's all compartmentalized. So the left hand never knows what the right hand's doing.
You did demolition.
I know how to blow things up.
And you know when things blow up, how they fall. That's what you're saying. You're saying this looked like something you'd blow up.
How do you explain the thousands of tons of cement that was pulverized to powder? What energy force could cause that? Not simply falling to the ground.
Well, how do you know that?
How do I know what?
Well, how do you know it's not pulverized? I mean, are you a scientist now, too?
He was in demolition.
I was trained in demolition. It looks like a demo job to me.
Well, it looks like it, yeah, but that doesn't mean it is it.
No, but so you believe, okay, I guess here's how you could prove it to me. Here's how you could prove it to me. They've said that the planes did not cause the building to fall, that fires did.
Right.
Okay, the next time one of these hotels in Vegas has to come down, let's simply light it on fire. After all, it'll uniformly collapse.
Yeah, but Jesse, one thing, though. They're talking about jet fuel burning at the rate it did after being hit.
Wait,
it's not setting something on fire.
First of all, the jet fuel was gone in minutes. When the plane hit, there was a massive explosion. The jet fuel's gone.
That ignited the whole building.
Right. Now, you're telling me that the buildings burned for an hour. Then why did the building that was hit second fall first?
Well, what the governor is also saying,
because it was hit more.
The governor's saying, as an experiment, the next time one of these big buildings has to come down,
let's just light it on
fire with jet fuel,
and let's watch it come down.
No, fly a 747 into it.
No,
at that rate, loaded with fuel.
They said it had nothing to do with the plane striking it. FEMA even acknowledged that. They said it came down from the fires. And the point I'm saying is that never before in history have steel-structured buildings collapsed because of a fire. You just had a huge fire to a skyscraper in China. It didn't collapse. You've had records all over. This is a day of firsts. The first time a steel-structured building ever collapsed like that.
Right.
First.
John's a New York City cop. He wants to chime in.
The next thing.
Retired New York City cop. Governor, there was hundreds of thousands of gallons of diesel fuel stored in the basement of building number 7 that ignited and burned, and that's why the building fell down.
And that's why the building fell in 7 seconds.
The tower smoldered
7 seconds with virtually no resistance. It fell at the rate that I jump out of an airplane.
I'm talking about building number 7.
Yeah, that fell even faster than the other two. That one went down in 7 seconds. You can time it.
I don't have a degree in physics.
All
I know is you're not mentioning the fire that burned below building number 7.
All right, well, Governor Jesse Ventura is writing a book on this.
Can I say one more thing? I just want to say one more thing. So what you're saying is someone in the government made a decision when there were 300 firemen up there and thousands of people in that fucking building. Someone made a decision in our government to fucking take those 2 buildings down. They hit a button and took them down.
Not necessarily. I don't know. But what I do know is this. You're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to ask any questions about it. I just did a TV pilot on this. And when we went to do it, the government wouldn't even talk to me. No government agency would speak to me. No one will even discuss 9/11. Why is 9/11 off the board? Why can't you talk about it?
Well, we're talking about it here. I mean, what if it was
This is Howard Stern.
Yeah. Nobody pays attention to me.
Oh, you're on the greatest show.